finish line. You can't get there from here.
Strap on your feet bag. Wide Army. Running with scissors.
HWYRT.
HWYRT.
How come you're not running right now? No, seriously, grab some headphones and go for a run while you listen.
Come on, Bray.
And now, without further ado, here are Bryan and Peter.
Well, normally I just wait for Peter to start talking. Okay. Hello, Artians. It's just me. Just Bryan. Just Jack 2000. Oh, that's a Will and Grace callback. Sorry, Peter. Had to do it. I hope you're having a great time in Japan. Hi, Dave. Hope you're treating him right. I know you are. Have a great time at Star Wars Celebration when that happens as well. We're going to get right to the good stuff. I'm recording this on the Monday before the marathon, and we're going to go straight to that soon-to-be marathoner himself, James McCabe. James, I am going to have to interview you by myself because Peter's on the other side of the planet, and it's just me. Are you okay with that?
Well, I feel like I will be okay with it, but I feel like I was promised the ghost of Peter.
Well, you don't know yet. There may still be an apparition yet appearing on my screen. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, excellent.
James McCabe, welcome to How Was Your Run Today? You've given us some fantastic voice memos, also including the greatest voice memo open ever. Before we get into talking about your training and what's going to happen in less than 1 week to you and for you on the streets of Boston, please explain the origin of voice memo.
So we found at some point years ago in the voice memo app that neither one of us use. My wife and I have no reason to use the voice memo app that is until I started sending you guys voice memos. And we found that the kids had been playing with the voice memo thing. So they were already teenagers, and we discovered this whole trove of embarrassing and funny voice memos. There were songs. There were experiments. I think that they watched the waveform, and Molly loved to say voice memo. I have a couple of those, and I don't know what made me think of it, but it was just sitting there waiting for us.
Voice memo!
It's amazing. And I will tell you, everybody who writes in with an email with a voice memo attached, the subject line is always the same. It's voice memo with like 1,000 O's after it. So congratulations, Molly. You've created a meme of sorts, I suppose. Trendsetter. So you have had quite the experience. You've raised all your money for the Boston Bulldogs. That was early on. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the Bulldogs and why you decided to raise money for them?
Yeah. So it's funny. I was just chatting with Michael Goff, texting with him about this whole thing, and he's so great. I wish I was half as thoughtful, and he's just reaching out to see how I'm doing and feeling the week before the event. And meanwhile, his race is in 5 days on Saturday. But Michael and I were running during the pandemic. We had started running, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, but I was much more off and on. And we were running during the pandemic, often on Saturday mornings, and he would say, "Oh, you should come to a Bulldogs run. Come to a Bulldogs run." And I thought, that's not me. That's not my community. And I'm not, I'm pretty introverted, so I was just basically uncomfortable. And what I figured out over time, because I'm also, as I said, not as thoughtful as Michael, was that what he was really saying was, on Saturday mornings, I run with the Bulldogs, and I would like to keep doing that. And so we did one Saturday go, and I just immediately felt very much at home, and felt a real connection to everyone that I met. And I know now that was the Boston running community in action is just a fantastic example. So when he asked me to go to November Project, for example, which I never would have done, I was like, yes, I'm going to try that too. But anyway, the Bulldogs just felt great. The more people I met, the more I felt connected to the community. And so there was never any question that I would love to do things for the Bulldogs, whether it's raising money or taking pictures or anything that I could do. And so it was not really a decision about who am I going to raise money for. It was more, will I run the marathon? And then it was, can I be on this team?
And how did you feel when you got the okay, or that you knew you were going to get the bib and you were going to be able to raise the money?
Yeah, so that's funny, and I don't know if you and Peter know this story, but there was that initial voice memo that was when Peter and I went for a run when he was first starting up again, and we sat on a bench at the reservoir, and he said, "Do you want to do a voice memo for the show?" And I thought, yeah, that'd be great. And I don't think I knew he was going to ask me about the marathon, or maybe he did tell me, can we talk about this? And I was just like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And I didn't have any commitment at all. And the Bulldogs didn't have any bibs yet. They had bibs for a few years, so we were fairly confident. But I was just excited. And so when he asked me, I was right there. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And I think maybe up until that moment, I was like pretty sure. But I just figured I needed to make the decision anyway, and I was pretty sure. So we talked about it. I was all excited. I was feeling like $1,000,000 as he jumped in the Subaru and drove away. It dawned on me, two things dawned on me. One was that I could still make it to the Bulldogs trail run because it was on my way home in Concord that day. And the second thing was I needed to talk to Sheila because I had just committed to running the marathon, but I was not yet accepted on the team, and I hadn't talked to Megan or Jim or anyone. So after that run, I immediately messaged Jim on Facebook, and this was a Sunday, and he called me immediately. And I didn't know if that was good or bad, but when I told him the story, he just laughed and he said, "Listen, I'm crossing my fingers we get bibs, but if we do, then you're in."
Amazing.
Yeah. So it's very funny, and it's funny how it's all connected.
Absolutely. And then the real work started, where you had to learn how to train for a marathon.
Yeah.
And you've been so gracious in sending us our voice memos, and they really have been a nice journal of how it's going. But in your last one, you said you were at the "why the heck am I doing this" phase. And if I remember right, Peter and I both sort of said, "Oh, you don't know what you're in for when the taper starts." So you're now a week out. What have the last 3 or so weeks been? You had your long run, and now you're deep taper. How are you doing?
Yeah. So the point that I reached out about that, I had been just really feeling spent, mentally and physically. I was thinking about it today, and it's been I've been feeling good lately, excited about it all, and not trying to be sarcastic, saying excited that it's over, or almost over too, in a good way. But I was thinking about it, and it's like every week you feel like you've gotten into a fight. It just hurt and tired and everything. But what I realized today, it's like because I've gotten in a couple of fights and I never won. But I feel like I won these fights. I'm still hurt and I'm tired. But it's been positive. And so when I reached out about that, I was talking to a bunch of people, and I so much appreciate the advice you guys gave and the laughs and all of it. It means a ton. But I've also been reaching out to Paul and the rest of the team, and you get mantras, you get advice. Emily came and did a call for the team, and got her advice. Just stays with me on every single run. And so at some point, I got over myself and the hard part of it all. And the last 3 weeks have been cold and rainy on our
Sure
long
have.
run days. And they've also been just excellent runs. Like we did Hopkinton to BC, and it was 21 and a half miles because we ran to where we parked. And happened to park a little bit further away. And we were soaking wet, but there were so many water stops and awesome people, including the Bulldogs, who were so much fun. So when we started to approach the parking and realized we were going to be at about 21 and a half, at that point, everyone else had fallen away, and it was just Nicole and I. And I was like, we're going to do 22, right? And she was like, oh yeah, absolutely. We're not stopping at 21 and a half. And we just felt awesome. And that's been carried through. Like we ran the 26-point true course this weekend, and it was particularly cold and rainy, and it had snowed. I got up and I walked through the snow. It stuck this time.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
It really was. But that was, they're doing 2 loops this year. And so we did the 13.1, and we're soaking wet and cold, but it was still totally awesome.
Fantastic. That's so good to hear. And what are your plans for the weekend? Are you going to go to the expo? Are there any events you're looking forward to?
Yeah, so I haven't been to November Project for weeks. And so
the stadium sort of fades away during the late stages of marathon training. I think that happens for everybody.
Yeah, and I had intended to go to Hills on Friday, and because I asked Paul about what I should do and what I shouldn't do, and he's like, the stadium worries me because you could easily get hurt. Now I've fallen there before, so I took that advice. But then I just have been so spent, I haven't gone to Fridays either. So one of the things I'm really psyched about, which is, the mental illness of it all. I'm like, I get to do the stadium in Hills again. And so on Friday, I'm going to go because I'll be in town. I took the day off. I'll be in town for the expo anyway. And so I just thought it would be a great time to see everyone and just sort of bask in all of the NP goodness, then go to the expo. And then it's Good Friday, so my wife is off too. So we're probably going to go someplace, and I will eat a worrying amount of food. And,
not worrying. Don't worry about what you're eating.
No, not for me. I'm not worried. Penny will be worried.
Just keep shoveling.
Yes. So I will be shoveling all weekend. And Paul's advice, that's a theme. I have taken more advice through this training than I have ever been willing to do before, and that's been wonderful. So I'm going to eat and sleep and stretch, and I've got a massage on Saturday. I'm going to get out to 26-point true for a bit to say hello to Joev and Michael and Nicole and all the others that are running it, and all the people working the water stop. I think NP and Bulldogs are doing a water stop together, if I understand correctly.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. So do what I can, and then Easter I'll cook a ham and
And eat it.
potatoes. And oh yes,
And how are you getting out to Hopkinton on early Monday morning?
there is a bus. We're supposed to meet in Boston, and the Bulldogs. I don't know if it's our bus or we're sharing a bus. There was a call on Sunday I was supposed to go to, but I skipped that. So I should be getting instructions soon. But I'm meeting early for a bus, and then we go out there and wait. And
Yes, you do.
yeah, that's
But
the
you
part
know
that
what?
worries me. I'm not great at waiting.
No, there's a lot of waiting, and then you're in a corral and you're waiting, and then everybody in front of you starts to run, and you forget everything that happened over the last 3 hours, and you're just running your race. And it's fantastic.
Yeah. I don't know
And
if
you're
I'm
also
forward to
running
that.
downhill for like a mile. So your legs are just like, let's go.
And that will be the maybe the last piece of advice that I can think of at this point that I will try like hell to remember, which is not to run too fast at the beginning.
Please don't run too fast at the beginning.
Yes. Yes.
Soak it all in. That's what I have to say. There's so much support, both within the runners, but especially on the sidelines. And, whatever feels comfortable for you, if it's like pointing at signs, smiling at people, high fives, whatever it is. And you will be amazed that people will actually see you and shout your name and just take that in. Like, let that fill you up to the top every time it happens.
Awesome. I can't wait. I will say though, one of the things that's really helped me with the long runs is when you guys come out with a new episode, that's always like, oh, this is great. It's like whether I'm looking forward to the run or not, it's just a bonus. And so I listen on Spotify, and I put the episode in with some music so I don't have to think about anything when I'm running. And what I started to do was to go back to the very beginning of the pod and add some just to hear what you guys were doing at the beginning. And this week I listened to episodes 3 and 4, which were so much fun. They were very short.
So much better than what we're doing these days.
No.
Baby Bryan and Peter.
Oh God, so funny. But I just remembered that last piece of advice was somewhere around mile 18. I need somebody waiting there with a pair of socks that I can snack on and use to wipe sweat, I think was what Peter had said.
That sock thing, yeah, I don't know where that came from, but apparently it helped him.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody else who uses that technique.
Oh my God, I love it.
James, have a fantastic race on Monday. Enjoy the whole weekend. Rest up, eat up, and you're ready. You sound great. So I'm so happy for you. Have a fantastic marathon.
Thank you. I will.
Thank you and good luck to James running for the Boston Bulldogs. And speaking of the Boston Marathon, why don't we go right to GW's Boston Marathon tips for runners for the day. So if you're running on Monday, you're going to want to listen to what George has to say. Who's that?
Well, that's George Woodward right there.
Marathon George.
Go catch that sheep.
Hi, friends. It's Marathon George with some race day tips to help you have your very best Boston Marathon experience. The most reliable way to get to the start is the yellow school buses that leave from the Boston Common. But here's the goal. Spend as little time in Athletes Village waiting for the start as possible. The BAA gives you bus times based on your wave. So, for example, I'm in wave 3, so my bus time is 8:15 to 9. I'm certainly not going to be early for the bus, and I would aim for an 8:30 bus. That would put me in the village around 9:30. Wave 3 runners can leave the village at 10:05, so I'm going to be sitting around for around 30 minutes. But I'm going to be at the head of the line to leave the village, and here's why. From the village, you walk about a mile down to the start. It's a great walk. Lots of runners. Everybody's in a great mood. You see runners from all over the world. At the bottom of the hill, just before you turn right to go into the corrals, on the left-hand side, there's a big parking lot filled with porta potties. Here's your last chance. And here's a pro tip. Jog to the very back of the parking lot where the lines for the porta potties will be shorter or perhaps no lines at all. You can keep all of your throwaway clothing on until you are in the corrals, where there will be volunteers gathering them up. So now it's time to run. There are lots of course previews out there and lots of strategies. I've run 8 Bostons, train on the course all the time, and here's how I like to think about it. 5 miles easy, 10 miles of cruising, 1 big downhill mile, 5 miles of the Newton Hills, and 5 miles downhill to the finish. And so here's what I mean. When you start, the first mile is really steeply downhill. The first 4 miles, you drop nearly 300 feet. That's like running down from the top of a 30-story building. So I'm very careful for the first 5 miles. I don't go out too hard. I let people pass me. I be careful. Then you have 10 miles of mostly flat running. Settle in. Run your goal pace or a little faster. Look around, take in the day, enjoy yourself. At mile 16, you go down Grossman's Hill, and it's really steep. Don't be tempted to pound down it, because at the bottom, you start the 4 Newton Hills. Hospital Hill is first, up and over the highway to the hospital. Then you run down a little and make a right at the Firehouse, the first time you've made a turn on the course, and up Firehouse Hill. At the top of Firehouse Hill, you'll see the November Project Cheer Zone for some energy. And then a little-known secret, mile 19 is downhill, a chance to recover or a chance to race. Then Kelly Hill, and half a mile later, Heartbreak Hill. At the top of Heartbreak Hill is mile 21. Now you have just 5 downhill miles to the finish. 5 easy, 10 cruise, 1 big downhill, 5 miles a hill, 5 miles to the finish. Lastly, be sure to agree on a meeting spot after the race so your family can find you. My go-to spot is to turn right just after the food tables and walk 2 short blocks to the corner of Berkeley and Stewart. All along Stewart is the main meeting area, but I go right across to the far corner and meet my gang on the steps of Grill 23. I hope you have a fantastic Boston. Remember to look around and take it all in, and enjoy yourself, and smile every chance you get.
Although I never spent more than a minute or two in Athletes Village, I'll have to say every other piece of George's advice is amazing. The reason I never spent any time in Athletes Village is because the 2 times I ran, I was on a charity team, and we had other accommodations, either a tent or a building nearby. So I never actually went to Athletes Village for any amount of time. But everything else, George, you're a consummate professional, and you're so generous to share that information. You know who else shares so much information with us, Hawartians? You know her as Emily Saul of eSaul Movement.
Emily Saul of the Emily Saul of the November Emily Saul of the
Oh, for... Hello.
Better Calls with Saul.
Emily, welcome to a Peterless How Was Your Run Today? Peter Free, How Was Your Run Today? We're calling
Peter Free. Free Peter.
Free Peter is free. He's gallivanting around the world. And it's
you can
just
find him. You can keep him.
I guess.
No, we miss Peter.
But I wanted to talk to you about something very specific. So we've been hearing a lot about the Boston Marathon, which is coming right up on the other side of this weekend. And I wanted to switch to something that I've been watching you do for, I don't know, about 2 years. And I'll set it up, and then I want you to talk about it. And please correct anything I don't get right. About 2 years ago, I noticed when going to Rogue Hills, which is just basically real hill repeat workout of various sorts at Prospect Hill and in Union Square in Somerville. Sometimes you're coming there already having run, I don't know, 5 miles, 7 miles the other day, or for a while you were running regular half marathons on Friday mornings. So by the time we finish up at 7:30, you've done what you're calling early miles, then hill miles, and your half marathon. And then like 2 weeks ago, you're like, well, that's 18 for the day. And I'm thinking, what? So how did early miles start, and why do you run an extra, 7 to 9 miles before your 6:30 a.m. hill repeat workout, Emily?
That's a great question, Brian, and I am so glad you asked. I started doing early miles back in 2023, really, when I was training for the Paris Marathon. And I had been running the Rogue Hills Friday morning, 6:30 hill repeats with a pretty regular group there, and really loving that. And that was my regular Friday jam. Partly because I do value, I can't say I like, but I value running hills on a regular basis. It's a good mental exercise to do something that you don't really like to do. It is good for the variety of training. So I was sticking with the Friday hills, but when I got deep into my marathon training, I was navigating whether I really wanted to be doing hills because the Paris Marathon was pretty flat and I didn't need that as much in my training. And in particular, there were a couple of Saturdays where we knew that a giant storm was coming or it was going to be outrageously, dangerously cold. And it became just logistical necessity to do my long runs on a Friday morning. But I really didn't want to give up the time with the crew of people that meet for hills and will go to Union Square Donuts and have donuts and coffee afterwards. And so I started planning those couple of times. I planned my long run to start at whatever time I needed to start so that I would finish at 7:30 at Union Square Donuts. And so that was the original beginning of the earliest miles. And it was a really lovely way to get me out the door and keep me going. You know how easy it is on long runs to be like, I'll just pause here for a second and take extra water, another little break. But it really kept me accountable to get this thing done, get there. So that was the official start.
So this is an Emily in Paris story.
Yes, exactly. And and then I came back. And what I discovered was it actually felt pretty doable to get up real early. And I enjoyed also starting a long run from not home. It was sort of this interesting stretch of my brain to start from somewhere else, because I would drive there and park at Union Square so that when I had then coffee and donuts with everyone, I wasn't having to run 2 miles back home. I could just get in my car and drive home. So I was then organizing these routes and figuring out how to get these distances early in the morning from a totally different spot. And so I started exploring other places, kind of different sections of the city based on how I fit those miles in. And a couple of friends who were regulars at Friday Hills were training for the Catamount 25K, 50K, I think that year. And so they asked if we could do some early miles like I had done. And I think I had maybe done that a couple of times where I was like, it's real fun to run more than 4 miles on the hills. So what if I did a couple more? So we started meeting up. We would sort of pick different times, 5:30, 5:15, something like that, just based on whether we were going to run 4 miles, 5 miles. And I found myself, as a tour guide, like a running tour guide, being like, oh, okay, well, this time we're going to run 4 miles. So we're going to go that street over there and get to this river, or get to the river and go across this bridge, or get to the river and stay on this side and then come back on that bridge. And just figuring out all these different routes, and also discovering like when the sun rises and, oh, but we get a really cool view if we go this way or that way. And it became this exploration of the city for me in the different routes and the different bridges and the views of the sunrise. And that really was like the impetus to just keep going and make it a very regular thing. So we just finally like set the time. 5:15 is when we start. And that gives us enough time to get, 5 or 6 or 7, sometimes close to 8 if we're working hard, before we arrive back at the hills to start at 6:30.
What have you found to be your favorite sunrise spot? What do you really love? Because you always post a picture of the sunrise, as long as the sun is coming up before you're done.
That's right. There are times in the darkest portions of the winter when the sun does not come up ever before we get back to hills. And so though there is no good sunrise spot, there's just the memory of and the anticipation of, which is fun to think about. There are also some summertime runs when by the time we start at 5:15, the sun is already long since up. And so I've actually done a couple times, I've done early miles in order to see the sunrise in the summer, because I love the sunrise so much. So there are a couple spots on the river that are pretty great. I love the elements of Boston, like the Zakim Bridge is so, iconic. It looks like, double Bunker Hill bridges or Bunker Hill monuments on that bridge. And so I do love the view from North Point Park, looking east toward, with the Zakim Bridge in the background, and the sun is usually coming up like just under it. But there's also a really amazing spot as we run from North Point Park across the pedestrian bridge that goes underneath the Zakim Bridge over to Paul Revere Park on the other side. And there's a spot where you're on the pedestrian bridge and the sun is coming up just underneath the Zakim Bridge. So underneath is all orange and above the bridge is still all dark and blue. And so that's an incredible spot. But the Charlestown Bridge is also a really awesome spot to watch the sunrise. And that's on the route that we now most regularly do, which loops all the way around Charlestown.
Maybe someday I will arrive early enough and be fast enough to join you to see the sunrise under the Zakim Bridge. Explain to me why you ran 18 miles the other day.
So
before 7:30 in the morning.
Before 7:30. So I have taken. I've used early miles plus Rogue Hills as a way of maintaining what for me is a pretty consistent long-ish run capacity. I have just sort of set as a little bit as a goal, but it's more like a standard for myself that like I know I feel in like really good running shape and feel healthy and strong in my body when I can run 10 to 13 miles as a longish run on a weekly basis. And the foundation of that is very functional. I like the idea that should any of my friends, and you are like top of the list to do something like this, to say, hey, friend, would you tomorrow like to run this half marathon together? That I would be able to happily and healthfully say yes. So I do aim for somewhere in that 10 to 13 mile range. And I also enjoy, like I did when I was training for Paris, I've had a couple of friends recently in training for certain other races or events that they are doing, looking for more than 13 miles. And so the ask has sort of been, well, if we got to go earlier to do 13, then I guess we got to do than that to do a few more miles. And so that's just been the origin of it. Like it's companionship on some miles and another opportunity to kind of stack that exploration through the city. Find a route that fits that distance to get back by 5:15 to meet anyone else who's coming to run that early loop to get back to the hills at 6:30 to run with the group there.
I was thinking you were going to say, well, between 4:30 and 6 in the morning, I just don't know what's happening. So I get those miles in without even thinking about it. But it sounds like you think about it pretty deeply.
I do tend to think about most things pretty deeply.
So talk to me about this. Has this, over the last 2 years, opened up your weekends for other activities other than grabbing a super long run? Because I find when I am training for something, I'm often giving up half a Saturday or half a Sunday, and then, frankly, I'm pretty useless then for the rest of the day, except for some mild strolling.
Right. And like the last thing you want to do then is like mow your lawn or, do yard work or those kinds of things. Yes, absolutely. It is a very, very functional way to have a pretty open weekend. I think there's something mentally about knowing that that big chunk of work that I do want to do is done, and that then leaves the weekend to really do what I feel like doing. So in terms of play and fun and social and family time, certainly, but also in terms of movement. So I might do a long run on Friday and just enjoy doing a really casual shakeout run with, friends that maybe I don't run with otherwise because we run at different paces. Or I can, with a little bit more leisure time, maybe go to the gym and do a strength session that day rather than trying to crank out another run. So it does leave a little bit more kind of space and flexibility. I also find that in the summer weekends, I really like the idea of choosing that like early morning wake up that happens on a weekday so that if I wanted to sleep in a little bit more, which just kind of feels nice sometimes in the summer, then I'm not paying the price for that by having to run at 10 o'clock in the heat of the day and, feel like I just wrecked myself or ruined my training plan.
Oh, that sounds so familiar to everything I do on a regular basis. You're so smart, Emily. Thank you. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say the best part to me about it is it isn't something that I sort of started out like let me solve this problem or let me try to be so smart about it. It was really just this discovery that happened like, hey, it was functional, as I said initially, but I really paid attention to what happened, like what I got from that. And then I followed that. And I think that's one of the most valuable things about our movement practice in general is that if you keep paying attention to what the experience is giving you, it really guides you as to how you can continue to develop that movement practice in a way that's really enriching.
Thank you, Emily. I know that I have to now let you go to tell a whole bunch of very skilled and talented and trained up runners that they can do what they came to do on Monday, and they really can run 26.2 miles, and that the women's Harvard rugby team really is the best, and they can do whatever the heck they want because they're awesome.
Yep.
Congratulations. We will get together again and talk all things ESOL movement.
Thank you so much, Bryan. Peter, we miss you. We love you. It's not the same without you. It's way easier to have a conversation. But we laughed so much less today. So we miss you. But thank you, Bryan. This was really fun. And I also invite anybody who wants to come out to Rogue Hills and or Early Miles. You're welcome.
If 6:30 a.m. is too late to start a workout, go find Emily Saul running through the streets of Boston before that.
Emily Saul of ESOL movement.
No, Peter, it's just not the same without you. Well, I mean, the guests are the same, and sort of the cadence and the music stings, and I mean, a lot of it's different. And just as you thought I was going to wrap out the show, we have one more voice memo.
Voice memo!
Hey, Bryan and Peter. This is Kelli Frey from Anger, North Carolina, just south of Raleigh. I'm sending my very first voice memo to anyone, so we'll see how this goes. But just wanted to say thanks for choosing my race name suggestion. I'm super excited. This would have been Shorter Tomorrow Ultra. It's going to be a great day for you guys, and you could have picked my other suggestion, the Jack Cameron Johnson Memorial Ultra. You would have had something to add to your website that I'm still afraid to Google, but I'm glad you like the other one. I know you guys are going to have a great run. And I also just wanted to say thanks for bringing the show back. I really love How Was Your Run Today? I started listening maybe at 30 or 40 episodes in, and I went all the way back to the beginning and got caught up. I don't listen backwards, and you guys make me laugh a lot, and I was bummed when you guys decided to stop a few years ago, and I'm just glad you're back. So when you asked for pictures and emails, I wanted to be sure to send things in, and so you guys would know that I was happy you guys were back. So, and fun fact, Stephanie from North Carolina, who ran the Disney races a couple weeks ago, she's my running BFF. So, hey, Stephanie. Anyway, thanks for all the good times, and Peter, I hope you have a great time in Japan with Dave, and Bryan, keep up the good work on the Friday Hills, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Alert! Alert!
Well, hello there, friend.
Hello.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. All right, everybody. Have a great Boston. Have a great 26 Point True. Have a great early miles. Start training for your summer ultra. Maybe you're going to join us for the It Would Have Been Shorter Tomorrow Ultra. I'll have some details soon. I'm wavering between starting the thing at sunrise on the solstice and, noon, 8 o'clock, 6:30 p.m. Who knows? We'll figure it out. Just show up. We'll have fun. Oh, hey, to the ghost of Peter, this wasn't so easy. It sounded easy. I mean, I sounded good. I sounded like I know what I was doing. I mean, I'm a pretty good interviewer. I can prompt people to say things pretty well, keep them on target. I sound pretty good. I mean, I've done this before. Still, I missed you. I can't talk about myself as much when you're not asking me questions. That's kind of the whole part of it. So that's hard for me. If you know, it's kind of hard for me not to talk about myself. Anyway, hope you're having a great time. Hi, Dave. Hope you guys are enjoying the train. I'm jealous. Good day. Maybe you're going to join us for the It's going to be shorter. It would have been shorter tomorrow. Maybe you're going to join us for the It's going to be